Welcome to the Enchanted Earth podcast, where you will hear stories of nature with the power to transform our lives. These sacred stories are begging to be shared now. So listen in as my guest today shares one of their own. So welcome, everybody. Today we have with us Rachael Edgeley, and let me tell you a little bit about Rachael. She's a devoted Waterkeeper, moon priestess, healer, alchemist, and teacher with a lifelong connection to water. She works to restore peace and balance on the earth by awakening the sacred waters within the human body, those inner rivers that carry memory, light, and divine intelligence. So welcome, Rachael.
Thank you so much. It's such a joy to hang out with you. I've been so looking forward to today. So thank you for having me on your podcast.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. And I just want to say that just to the audience, we did do a recording a few months ago, and we were just kind of recounting how challenging the actual product was, the end product, trying to edit it. The volume was bad. There was just so many issues. I thank you so much for coming back on yet again. And like we were saying, whatever needs to be said, whatever needs to be shared will happen today. And whatever that is for anybody who is watching, I just love that. I love our spontaneous conversation. And I so loved the conversation we had last time. I was so bummed.
It was so good. It flowed. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. And then when you said it hasn't worked, I was like, oh, that's not a problem because I get to speak to you again.
No,
It's win-win.
I know. So I am just, I do feel like it is divinely timed. And the water element has shown up again and again in recent podcasts. And I'm usually about 2 months behind to get something out into the public. But I do know that recently I've gotten several interviews that have to do with the water element and just like the deep divine feminine that we can access through that. So I think that's really interesting.
I think that is interesting. And water is such an important conductor, isn't it? It's the element that binds us all together. It keeps us all hydrated and fluid and communicating. And it's our intuition, it's our dreams and our wisdom. And that divine feminine, she's very strong, but it's also, for me, you said in my biography, it's about having that balance, finding that balance. And that's so important for us to really ground that into our physical and into our outer realities as well.
So true. I love that you said that, ground it, because that's definitely not a word that I would use for the water element, right? The water element's moving, could be fast, could be slow, it's flowing, it goes everywhere at once, but yet it does need to get contained.
It does, because that water carries information. And we need to just hold on to that information in order for us to receive, to process, or it needs to cleanse, it needs to purify. And so we need to hold on to that. We need to hold on to whatever information it's bringing us so that we can be in our divine flow.
Love that. So I always start with asking my guests if they can share a little bit about the land that raised you.
Well, in the land that raised me, I want to say that I've been totally blessed, because from literally the moment I was born, from 10 days old, I was in a carry cot on the beach with my parents and my sister and being nourished by the sea. But I live essentially, I live about an hour outside London in a city called Southend-on-Sea. And I'm very fortunate to where I live now. I have a body of water at the end of my road. It's an estuary, which means it comes from, well, it depends which way you look at it, but it comes from the North Sea into the estuary and it flows into the River Thames. And it's where I go every day. We are surrounded by some countryside, but it's just it's a lovely place to live. I live quite in a quiet residential area where there are beautiful gardens, and I love where I live. I've lived in Switzerland twice, but here is home. And when I go to the water, when I go to the beach, there is where I feel most grounded and at home.
Wow. Yeah. So as a child, you grew up at the sea.
Pretty much. My parents had a beach hut, which is like a glorified shed. It's like there was a row of beach huts, and my parents used to go down and live, or my father went to work, and my mum would meet up with all of her friends, and she still is friends with everyone that had a beach hut. They're now into their 80s and they still meet up every week. It's beautiful. So then from, being really young, I was always down at the beach. And then my father was into freshwater fishing. And just before, I think, my 10th birthday, I actually flew to America on my own for my 10th birthday to visit an aunt in Minnesota who I'd never met. I'd been a pen pal, but I'd never met. And I went for 3 weeks. And when I came back, it was my 10th birthday. And I said to my dad, when I'd come back, I'd like 2 things. I'd like a pond in my garden, and I would like a mirror in my bedroom, which again represents water. So water has played such an important role throughout my lifetime, and I'm so fortunate that my parents nourished that. I mean, not many children ask for a pond for their birthday present, but my father happily obliged. And then obviously now as a healer, I have my own water system, healing modality, which is all about water. But more than that, I nourish the land where I live. As a planetary healer, every month, it's part of who I am. I gather up lots of moon water. Whenever anyone creates moon water, it's not just the moon that is being absorbed by the water, it's the stars, it's all the frequencies and information that is being sent out. So I gather the moon water, particularly around, the full moon when it's at its strongest, but equally the new moon. But the moon is out there every day, so any time works. And then I go and offer this moon water that is full of information, and I offer it to my trees where I live, particularly young trees that are yet to take root, that are yet to find their strength. And so I walk where I live in my streets, and I deliver this moon water to as many trees as I can. I've also been known to put clear quartz crystals tucked into the earth, underneath the earth. And if a tree has been taken down due to ill health, I'll go and again I'll place this moon water into the earth with love and intention. So where I live, I feel is so sacred that I'm giving back that love to the earth through water, through the moon, through the stars.
What a beautiful practice. I find myself wanting to do something like that. So just lovely. Were you inspired by something specifically to do that?
I was asked, I mean, obviously you have many listeners with many interests, and I am an angelic channel, so I hear and I receive. And it was the goddess Isis. And I kind of felt like it was like watering of a tree was like a huge test of my initiation, my commitments, because at the time we lived in a different house, and I have 2 dogs, so I go to the park often. And I'll be honest, I don't know my elm from my ash, and I still don't. I can't really tell you the difference between trees. I'm getting there. But this one day, the goddess Isis said, you need to take water to the park to water this specific tree. And it took a couple of attempts because I couldn't quite locate the tree she wanted me to water, but the request came from the divine. It was like she's saying, you have these gifts, you have these skills, but there has to be balance, there has to be give and take. And if you do this for Earth, she will thank you forevermore. And so I walked to the park with a big vessel of water, and I had my pendulum. I wish I had dowsing rods, if I'm honest. I had my pendulum, and I was literally going, is this the tree? Is this the tree? Give me a feeling, give me a feeling. In the end, I just had to kind of center, and you just think, okay, it's a young tree. I know it's near the entrance. They said it was near a bin. this park had many entrances. So
Oh,
I had to whittle it down, but that's when it started. And this was in 2019, I started this practice, and I've been offering moon water to trees and plants and places and spaces. And ever since, and I actually take small vials of water, of moon water, of water that's been blessed by the planetary frequencies as a sound healer. I play sound to the water and I take it around the world, and I drop high vibrational water wherever I'm guided to place it.
beautiful, beautiful. And the practice of collecting the moonlight into the water, is that something that you were taught by somebody, or was that something that you were guided to do?
I think it comes from within. It's just, and this is something that your listeners can do. So gather I like a glass vessel. I like blue glass. Blue glass holds lots of lovely healing qualities. And I actually place a clear quartz crystal inside for amplification. And I place it on the windowsill that is in the presence of the moon. The moon doesn't have to be directly illuminating the jug. It just has to be the presence of the moon. And, when the moon is everywhere outside. So I do it of an evening and I set it down with intention, and I place my hands upon the jug and I just say a little blessing. I just say, I ask for the moon and the stars to bless this water, infuse it with whatever frequency it needs to receive so that I can offer it in return to Mother Earth. And then I sit it on the windowsill overnight. And I know that all of that, information, because the spirals of the galaxies and the moon and the stars, they are constantly emitting frequencies and information. And so with intention, that information is coming down. And water, as you well know, Maureen, is highly programmable. And whatever you expose it to, it's going to emit that frequency. So the idea of this water vessel kept in moonlight is that it helps really bring down that divine feminine energy down into Mother Earth, to help Mother Earth receive that balance, to receive healing. The moon has many qualities that can help us with our releasing of old imprints that no longer serve us. It helps with our intuition and our balance, but it helps us really feel into that divine feminine energy. And, the planet has been very imbalanced for a long time. It's been lacking that, not so much now, but, it's been very masculine, but it now needs that feminine to come into harmony. So by particularly exposing the water to moonlight, you're anchoring those divine feminine codes. Now, you could, if you wanted to, you could have a vessel of water and expose it to the sunlight, but the sun is masculine, whereas the moon is feminine. So that is what I'm doing by bringing that water down, placing it by a tree, because, the trees are purifiers. They oxygenate and they hold on to wisdom, and they too are connected to the moons. I know that each tree is connected to a moon phase. So for them to receive that moon water, it's just like a return to home for them. So yeah, anyone could collect the moon water and offer it to Mother Earth as a beautiful act of service.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I also would imagine you could drink it for healing and clearing, right?
I do every single day. So every
Wonderful.
night, no matter what the moon phase, I place my jug, and on the outside of my vessel, written in invisible ink in lots of beautiful words, because through Emoto's work that water is conscious. She remembers everything. And so the moment you speak into your vessel words of kindness, of love, of devotion, you are honoring your body. And that water is going to bring those not only divine feminine codes in, but you are speaking words of wisdom, of joy, of affirmation and positivity. So every time that you drink that water throughout the next day, you are reinforcing that beautiful divine feminine energy. And it's not just women that can do this. Men too can benefit from coming into balance with embracing that divine feminine aspect within themselves. So, and even give it to your pets. Let them drink the moon blessed water. Let them feel emotionally balanced and whole.
I love that. So beautiful. Could you say that there were any particular moments of profound connection to nature in your life that contributed to where you are now?
Yes. And I'm conscious we might only have an hour because I have so many stories to share. I think I'd like, if I may, I'm going to share two particular stories. One was very recent and one was a little while ago. So first, I want to talk about the one which we may have covered in the last session. I can't remember, but I had a very profound dream. It was a very vivid dream where in my sleep state, I was visited by a tree spirit. And this tree spirit was like made of like twigs and branches, but it was in the shape of a man. And he had a face and he had arms and he had a torso, but his lower part of his body was encased in concrete. And it was a very distressing dream to see this tree being suffocating. And I knew upon waking that the trees felt suffocated by the concrete around them. Now, I just journaled this in my diary, and I didn't at this point act upon it at all. But then, I kid you not, about 1 month later, a local community council vehicle pulled up outside my house. There was a blossom cherry tree outside my house, and it removed the concrete that surrounded the tree to give the base of the tree room to breathe, room to grow. It was the most incredible moment. And then from there, I actually emailed the local council asking for all of the trees, or as many as possible, to have the concrete released so that they could grow, so that they could breathe. So that wasn't so much being out of nature, but it's how nature worked through me, through my sleep state, which I still find just mind-blowing, if I'm honest. Now, the other experience I'd like to share
Well,
was...
one second. I'm sorry. I just want to focus on that one for a moment.
Oh, yes.
So there is this, I'm a dreamer too, and I love that nature comes and speaks to us in dreams. And of course, nature can be, different archetypes. Sometimes I get a loving mother and I feel it's Gaia, but I've had a tree come to me too before in a dream. And I just love that nature was speaking to you about this situation, but you actually just wrote it in your journal. And then the town eventually came and
Yes.
freed it.
Yes.
That is just, wow.
Yes.
And then you went.
And then I went further. So I said, okay, they are willing to take action. So the tree spirit was telling me, look, they're going to do it, but we need to just reinforce that. We need to say how important it is. And pretty much where I live, they have removed a lot of the heavy concrete around. And I think that's such a beautiful act. And I was so surprised that this had happened. I was in total disbelief, but I felt the trees are just totally at harmony. And they were just saying, just thank you for giving us room to breathe, because, a tree is fluid, it's rooted, it's grounded, but it can move, it can sway. And by being encased, it didn't have that room to move, to grow, to be fluid.
So when was this dream in relation to now? Like, were you already doing this moon water, or was this before?
Yes, I was. So we moved into this. So I started the moon water in 2019, and we moved into this house on the 21st of December 2021. So all of those dates are quite significant, really. And I mean, I'd never moved house before Christmas again. So if we moved house in the December, it must have been in March 22, around that time. So not long after we moved in.
Great. Thank you. I can get a visual on that. So that's just lovely. The fact that you positively influenced the nature in your community. Lovely. Lovely. Okay.
It is a bit of a weird one to be seen walking around your neighborhood with a big vessel of water offering in it to trees or to spaces, but people don't seem to question. And if I was ever stopped, I would happily drink the water to prove that I wasn't doing any wrongdoing.
True. Yes. Well, I think anybody seeing you do that would not question. They would know that. They would know that your benevolence is, it's heart-centered and yeah.
Thank you. That's such a kind thing to say. Thank you. I might have some strange looks, but
yes.
But interesting. This will lead on to my next story about offering water to a local pine tree. So, I think about this was 3 weeks ago. I was just launching my new product of healing oils, and I think it was around the full moon, and I had my vessel of water, and this beautiful pine tree, it's got low-bearing branches, which sometimes I just go and perch and just sit and ground. And this particular pine tree, I feel real close connection to Archangel Raphael. I feel his energy very firmly because, you've got the pine cone, he's connected to the pineal gland. And so I went and offered this tree, and this particular tree is a very old and established tree. And I sit down and I just, I say a little blessing to the tree, and I thank Archangel Raphael for his healing and guidance. And then I said to the tree, because it's balance, it's give and take. And I said, can I have a clear sign that this launch is going to be successful and that I'm doing the right thing, I'm on the right path? Now we are in autumn, so I asked for one of three things. We're not in summer, so there's not going to be a prolific amount of butterflies. So I said, may I please see across my path to come near me, a squirrel, a significant bird, or a feather. And these are not just, feathers that are just, oh, look, there's one in the distance. They have to, I have to walk into it. It has to cross my path. And then, I just sat and I had a beautiful talk with the tree, and I really felt Raphael closely around me. And I gave the offering and I walked back home. And within 1 minute, a squirrel ran out straight in front of me. If my dogs were with me, I would have been pulled over. It was that close. It was unbelievable. Then about another minute on from that, there were 2 magpies just sitting on a wall, staring at me so firmly that until I acknowledged them, they would not go away. So I said, thank you very much. I'm very happy with these 2 signs. And then I was almost reaching the entrance to my driveway, and there was my black feather. So I was not only did I receive 1 sign, but I received 3. And I just felt so really supported and guided. But it's not that when we're out in nature, there are so many signs that we miss. They send us animals, in plain sight, but it's a question of opening our eyes and seeing the signs and messages that were there. And on this particular day, I was forthright and I said, send me a sign, show me. And they showed me. And I am so, so grateful for their support and for their validation.
That is a great example, and I'd love to kind of talk about that a little because, yes, someone listening to this could say, squirrels run all over the place. They're around my whole neighborhood. Birds are,
It's
okay.
true.
I don't have magpies here on Long Island, but whatever, I can imagine those are fairly common birds to see, right?
Yes.
And like feathers. So you said it's in your path. it's something unusual. So that squirrel running out right in front of you is highly unusual.
It is highly unusual, but it was just within moments, and it was just so obvious that it was meant to be for my path. And the birds, they were solid. I mean, magpies, if you're aware, magpies are black and white, and they're very bossy, and they're very sort of vocal. But they stayed put. They did not move until I acknowledged them. And, it was, yes, people can say, I get that. Oh, they're just birds then. But this was a pure example. I have another example with a jellyfish, actually. Yeah, if you want to hear that.
Oh, yeah.
So I was at this point, this was maybe 2 years ago. I was channeling Water Mastery Level 2, and I was working with a spiritual flame called the Moon Violet Flame. Now, the violet flame is a spiritual flame gifted to humanity that can really transmute the densest and heaviest of energies. Now, when paired with the moon, it comes with an element of water and of purification and cleansing. So it's very thorough. It's a Pleiadian energy. And I walked to the beach at the end of my road, and I was FaceTiming my friend who lives up north, and I was showing her what a beautiful day it was, and the water, and how calm, and the sunlight was sparkling on the diamonds. Now, for those listeners not aware of Water Mastery, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but Water Mastery is a healing system that works with really beautiful celestial angelic frequencies that present themselves as aquatic beings. Okay, so the seraphim present themselves maybe as a manta ray. It involves dolphins, it involves whales. We don't have whales or dolphins where we are in the estuary. But I was writing and channeling about this moon violet flame. And these beings that come into the system are represented by aquatic beings. And I was talking to her, and she is a Water Mastery student. And I looked down, and I have never, as God is my witness, seen a jellyfish hover so closely to my feet. Now, this wasn't any jellyfish. It was a moon jellyfish that had a purple domed head. And it was if to say, like, the validation that, yes, you are absolutely right. You are working with the moon violet flame, and it's going to come into the healing system, and it's going to be represented by the jellyfish, because the color of its body was like translucent and milky white. And then its head on the dome was purple, was violet. And my friend who I was on FaceTime too, neither of us could believe it. And I've never seen a jellyfish in that part of the water ever again.
Wow.
So is that a fluke? Is it coincidence? To me, there are no coincidences.
Yes. I do believe that spirit is working through nature to bring us messages.
Yes.
And that is the way it can nudge us and remind us.
But even in receiving a house spider, though I am not a fan of spiders, I have overcome my fears massively. But if you see spiders continuously, there is a message. And what is the message of the spider? Well, and again, it's all to do with the divine feminine. They embrace stillness. They are observers, and they weave things together. They repair. And so maybe when we see spiders, they're asking us to go into our darkness, to remind us that, when we invite in stillness, we can create, we can get in tune with our intuition. Spiders are very divine feminine. And they're saying to us, when you become still, when you go within, when you go into the darkness, that is when you unearth your gifts. That is when you unearth your creativity. That is when you can create. And spiders, they don't even have to appear in your house. Maybe you're out walking and you see spiders, or even, social media. Pay attention to your social media, because whatever spirit animal needs to come through, it will constantly appear on your feed. And it's the same with ladybirds and beetles to birds. It's just being aware and just trying to understand, their characteristics on the physical plane and then translate their message. What is their message to you? And so it's, I'm not a, huge fan of spiders, but now when I have one in the house, I'm like, thank you, I need to go within. And what is it I need to create or recreate? Or do I just need to be still? Do I need to be in that divine feminine of just being and not necessarily actively doing the whole time?
Yes. Beautiful. I love that practice of augury, which is what you were just explaining. And augury, it's also the movement of the animals or the creatures. It's their movement in relation to you. Are they moving left to right to left? Are they moving toward you, away from you? There's all these different ways that we can interpret, add to the interpretation. I just think it's fascinating.
That is fascinating. And I've never heard of this term either. So I need to go and explore this more.
It's fascinating. But you're already doing it. But it's always fun to explore a little more. I wanted to just go back to the moon water for a minute because something came up, and I forgot to ask, but are you familiar with 3I Atlas, the interstellar guest that we have that's coming through our inner solar system?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Okay. So do you have any thoughts? Like, part of me, there's many people out there in our kind of community who's talking about this amazing higher consciousness information coming in with Atlas. And I'm just curious, like, we could do water absorbing.
You can. So we have the ability to communicate with any planet, any star system. And it's just a question of opening ourselves up and asking. And even asking doesn't have to be complicated. Nothing has to be complicated. So when I want to come, I am fortunate. I am a sound healer and I have gongs. And as you can see from our Zoom, I don't know whether the listeners can, but I have an abundance of sound pipes. But even if you don't have the sound pipes, you can set an intention to come into resonance with any planet, with any frequency, whether it's Neptune, whether it's Sirius, Andromeda, or Atlas. When you sit with intention, and you can say, Atlas, or whatever its official name is, come be with me, work with me. Like these higher consciousness, they can hear our thoughts. They know, they're orchestrating our movement and what we're doing to, in terms of service. But you can say, come be with me, come bless this water. Come, let me experience your energy. And whether you're sitting in a chair or whether you're holding a vessel of water, you will, and always ask for the highest, ask for protection, ask for the highest frequency of unconditional love and the highest aspect of this conscious body. But for example, when I want to come into alignment with Neptune, I say, Neptune, come be with me, flow through all of my fluid transporting systems, uplift me, fill me with the Christ light, remove any obstacles or challenges within me that no longer serve me, because, Neptune's really good at removing obstacles in their path as well. And it's the same with Atlas, just come be with me, give me what I need, help me let go of what no longer serves, let me feel your energy. And I bet you will feel that energy come in. And if you are good at, you don't even have to be good at seeing, but maybe just knowing and trusting. Trusting is the most important aspect, to trust and say, Atlas, come bless this water. What is it that you can give us? What do we need? These stars, they are a gift. They come from, there are many different galaxies and planets out there we're not aware of. As long as you are asking for love and light and divine protection for your highest good, that energy can come down. I firmly believe that.
Beautiful. Well, I'm going to do that.
Yes.
Absolutely.
We know, we don't know. I actually haven't tuned into it at all myself. So I'm going to do this myself. Yes. But it will have a message. We can speak to Mother Earth. We can speak to any consciousness. We can speak to a stone, we can speak to a crystal, we can speak to a flower, a tree, an essence, to a star system, to the Pleiadians, to the Seven Sisters. We can speak to the moon. So we can speak to Atlas. And we just have to be quiet to hear, know, and feel its response, and just trust it's going to work with us. It's going to guide us.
Yes, I do believe that.
But even, with the sun, that there's the sun and then there's the inner sun, isn't there? And everything is visible, but call upon its consciousness. And I've got excitement in my belly. So this is something I feel many of us should do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's exciting. It's absolutely exciting. It's an adventure. We're entering the age of Aquarius. I mean, this is Pluto in Aquarius is ushering us into this new timeline. Oh, this has been just lovely, really lovely. I would love to ask if you have anything else you would like to share with the audience.
Well, I do actually, on the subject of Pluto. You just brought this in, I feel, but it's a really wonderful story about working with planets, okay, and how they work with us. I can't remember the date. Oh, it was a year ago. It was a year ago, because Pluto's energy has been all around us at the moment. Pluto is all about transformation, death and rebirth, and detoxifying the emotional body. So again, we're going back to sleep, to dream time. And in my dream, I was at a funeral and I was in a crematorium, and this crematorium was full of natural wood and carvings. It was beautiful. And I've actually been to many funerals in my sleep state, mostly mine, but I don't feel this was my funeral. But I sat in the front row, and I know I had people beside me, and I had a feminine friend beside me, but I don't consciously know who that was. And we was waiting for the ceremony to start. And this beautiful being, who was tall, slim, had long, dark, curly hair, piercing blue eyes. I mean, I want to say jet black hair. He had a grey suit on. And what made me laugh, he had a jumper on and he had a tie and a white shirt. He was very smart. And he come up and he kissed me, and then he walked away. And I said to my friend, "Who was that?" And she said, "That's Pluto." Yes. And then I went through a not rapid, transformation that probably broke me, because I had to let go, I had to rebirth, I had to do the shadow work. But Pluto came and kissed me, and then he walked away without saying a word.
So all of that is just loaded with symbolism.
Yes. So that's how planets can work with us.
Yeah. And I'm just going to share this one little thing with Pluto too. A couple of years, for a few years, Pluto has been transiting the bottom of my birth chart, which has to do with all of our beliefs that have accumulated over our lifetimes, our ancestral beliefs, our families. It's the foundation. It's all the way, let's say the shadow. It's just all the stuff, maybe the subconscious. Okay, maybe it is. Right, it's all the stuff down there. And Pluto's just like playing with me, just going back and forth for a few years. And the day that Pluto stationed, after moving retrograde, was on my IC, which is that point. And the town came and started digging up the road in front of my house, just my house. They were jackhammering the roadway to repave it. The house was rumbling, and it was just such a metaphor for what was going on.
Your foundations were rocked.
Yeah.
And are you friends with Pluto now? I mean, how, what's your relationship now?
Oh, yes. I was even welcoming Pluto with open arms when I knew it was going to that point, because I just knew things needed to shift. And, no matter how much work we do, Rachel, right? There's always more.
Oh, there is always more. We're
We
never
think,
done.
oh, yeah, we've been through a lot. We've really, we've shed, we've released, but it's a spiral. We come back to it.
How many times have you heard people say, yeah, I've done the healing, I've done the work? You just think, you haven't. We've just scratched the surface. There is always more. We can always go deeper and deeper if we're
Absolutely.
willing.
Right. And we just come up to the same triggers that we thought we dealt with. We come back around to them. And I like to say that we're then asked to, from a more evolved place, a higher consciousness place, deal with that and release that. And it's going to continue to happen. So, yeah, Pluto is quite...
Yes,
Quite
I'm
the
glad we
planet.
had the opportunity to share that. I didn't know that was going to come up, but
Yeah.
Pluto is quite something. But they make their presences known.
Oh, they do. They do. Oh, this is so wonderful. Now, Rachel, you have a Moonlight Rose School of Mastery.
I
Is
do.
that available at the link that I'm going to put in the show notes?
Yes, it's just my name, www.rachaeledgeley.com. And there you can find out about my healing courses, Water Mastery, Mother Mastery, and my latest offering. And you can find out a little bit more about me. And if anyone has any questions, I'd be open to answer them.
Great. And your new oils are there too.
They're just briefly, they are infused with planetary frequencies. So they're not just Reiki infused. They are designed to be massaged into the energy centers to go to the heart of the matter. So the oil is just a carrier of information. Like water can be programmed, oil can be programmed too. So they're full of information and light codes from the planets, from the stars, from angelic celestial bodies, that when working on the body, they will get to the underlying emotional root cause. And they're not a beauty product by nature, but say if you have, acne or on your skin or inflammation, it's going to address the emotional balance within. So then over time, the skin becomes clearer, or we feel lighter, we feel supported and comforted. So I'm very blessed. They've only been out 3 weeks. The range is growing. I'm just about to release a Moonlight Ritual oil. Has got beautiful frequencies in, but again, it's just working with the planets and the frequencies and Pluto.
Wonderful. And I have to say that I don't remember you talking about the planets before. So I think this was needed to bring that out. That is
Yeah.
just so perfect. I am so happy.
I am happy, and I've got lots of beautiful energy around my head to say that we needed to have this conversation and let everybody know that they can work with the planets on a much deeper level. Not just, knowing that they're in their birth chart, but call them in, get to know them, sit intentionally in meditation to say, look, Venus, come work with me, Mars, power, or Mercury, if you're having trouble speaking up, work with Mercury. He's going to open up your throat chakra. Or if you want expansion, work with Jupiter. So it enables you. It's like, we know our crystals, we know our angels. It's now time to, work closely with our planets.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being on here today.
Thank you. I've loved it. I'm sad that this is ending.
Oh, and we forgot to mention, oh my gosh, right?
We got the pink memo, and not just any pink, vivid pink. I mean,
Vivid.
Yes.
Right. It's just the divine feminine is just a Venus, right? Because we're talking today on a new moon in Libra. So
yes,
Venus just wanted to be
projecting our love. And thank you for having me on. Thank you to any of your listeners who tune in. I appreciate their time, and maybe in the future we can catch up again. I'd love that.
Oh, I would too. And I just want to thank all the people listening, as Rachel just said. Please like, share, and comment, because we will respond to your comments. And I just hope that you have an enchanted day, everybody. So take care. Thank you for being a part of the Enchanted Earth podcast. Please hit the subscribe button so that you'll know when we publish another inspiring episode. Check out my book, The Enchanted Earth,
available wherever online books are sold. Thank you and have a magical day.